Hey guys, I just made a video calling this thing here, the Kia Tasman, the ugliest vehicle, or one of, that I've ever seen. And now that I'm seeing it in person, yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts about this thing because Kia are really ambitious. They want 10% of the entire LCV market. That is huge. They think they will shift 20 to 25,000 of these in the first year, which is really quite ambitious. So today I'm going to take you for a full tour of the Kia Tasman. I'll take you through the exterior, the interior, which I do really like. Also the practicality as well. There are some things in the tub that's quite interesting, and under the bonnet too, because on paper it doesn't look very strong. So there are a few things that are kind of concerning me about the Kia Tasman. Let's see if I can alleviate those concerns in this video. And we'll start with the looks. Alrighty guys, let's talk exterior design. Now it's really polarizing, and I didn't think it would look like this even when I saw the prototype, and I was first in the world to bring that to you. I was like, maybe they're covering up some of the lights or anything, but no, this is how it looks. It's got really small headlights here with these relatively cool daytime running lights, bright LEDs, which is good, but they're tiny, they're really small. Just kind of reminds me of Sid the Sloth. And then you have a massive grille there as well, which looks kind of cool. I do like the Kia badge embossed there as well. It's got the tiger face grille, they're calling it now, but it just doesn't look right to me. But you can let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so maybe you love the way it looks, but I'm coming from the perspective of someone who loves the Fiat Multipla. So yeah, you could take that as you will. I will say from a design standpoint, I don't love that the headlights are all out here in the fenders, because this is usually what gets scratched when you do take it off road. So if you do whack a branch or something, it seems like this glass, or plastic housing anyway, will crack. So not very good. And also it does look a bit weird with the fenders, but we'll come back to that in a moment. It does have very bold upright looks, so I guess it is very masculine in that sense. And the windshield is very steeply raked at about 45 degrees. That's another thing that I'm a bit concerned about, because we have a lot of stones on our roads. So anything that's kind of vertical is much more prone to getting cracked, but time will tell, maybe it's really strong glass. Now this is the X Pro model. So this is the proper off-roading variant that does do some things for the suspension. I'll tell you about in a second, but you can hear here, we have a steel bash plate. We also have these recovery points here as well. And Kia are saying that this is going to be one of the most capable off-roaders in the class, if not the most capable, and that it has exceeded even their engineering expectations. So it'll be really interesting to take this thing off-road soon. Let's check out the side. All right, let's talk about the side. Now, before we come to this design element here, let me tell you about the size, because actually it's quite big. So its length is 5,410 millimeters long, which is 60 millimeters longer than a Ford Ranger. It's 1,930 millimeters wide, which is 5 millimeters wider than a Ford Ranger. As you can see here, we have a roof rack, so it's 1,920 millimeters with that on, which is 35 millimeters higher than a Ford Ranger. And its wheelbase is 3,270 millimeters, which is the same as a Ford Ranger. Okay, let's talk about these. These are just gigantic fender flares. They go into the lights, and I gotta say, I just do think it doesn't really work. And they've probably quite intentionally gone for a black on black frame here. It's just huge, and it's so out there on most of their models. I really don't like it, but you can let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I just think it's too much. It's kind of like giving the whole car a monobrow. You do have these 17-inch wheels here on the X Pro. Actually has really good ground clearance. So it's 252 millimeters here. On the regular one, it's 224 millimeters. And the way that they achieve that for the double wishbone suspension is they have a bigger spring. And all around it has frequency selective dampers that at 10 hertz will actually change. So this is very similar to what you'd find in a Kia Sportage. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the same dampers that come out of that, but that's not a bad thing. They are really good and tuned in Australia by an Australian dude who I know and is really quite intelligent. And here on the X Pro, we actually have some off-road Continental cross contact all-terrain tires. So good to see. Like I said, they are expecting this to be one of the best off-roaders in the segment. We'll have to wait and see. Got a 360 camera here, really upright, which I do like. Keyless entry and go as well. Rugged roof rails up there too. No side steps here, but you can accessorize this in so many different ways. They're showing off a couple of side steps here. You can get bull bar. You can have this thing with a factory OEM tray. It's actually quite impressive, the amount of stuff. Sports bars, which we don't get here, though on this one, we do have a tonneau cover. I'll come back to that though. This is really cool. So at least these ones at the back here are functional. If you open that up, it's an electronic locker. You have this fully sealed little area. It's not very big, but hey, it's a little bit of storage. You could put maybe some gloves in in there or something if you so desire. And then here you have very Ford Ranger-esque side steps. So it is relatively functional, just a bit ugly. Let's talk about the back. Alrighty, let's talk about the bum of the Tasman. It kind of looks like the new M2 with how wide the rear tail lights are as well. I do like that they're LED though, that is kind of cool. Good to see, actually. A lot of utes aren't doing that. And to be honest, I quite like the design of the back. I do like this big third brake light here. Kia is embossed into the back, hard to see, but Tasman is there as well. And you have a nice, plastic anyway, side step. Now, let's talk about the tub. So, first of all, you have a soft open, but it is still really quite heavy, to be honest. You have 5 cup holders down here, and these are actually places to put your phone, which is quite interesting. You've also got a accessory here. This is the roll top tonneau cover electric here, so that's kind of nice to see. You can accessorize the snot out of this. You can get canopies from the factory. Actually very, very cool. Inside, you get quite a lot of space. So it's 1,512 millimeters long, which is 50 millimeters longer than a Ranger, 1,572 millimeters wide, which is 52 millimeters wider than a Ranger. It's 1,186 millimeters, which is 31 millimeters narrower than a Ford Ranger, and it's 540 millimeters deep, which is 13 millimeters deeper than a Ford Ranger. So actually it has class-leading amounts of space in the boot, which is good to see. And the payload as well is also very, very good. So it's just under 1,200 kilograms for the rear-wheel drive pure version of this. And if you go for this top of the range X Pro, it's still over 1,000 kilograms just, which is actually quite fantastic. And here in the X Pro as well, you do get a cool feature too, because you've also got a 240 volt socket in the bed here as well, which the Ford Ranger, for whatever reason, deleted when it came to Australia. Not quite as good as a BYD Shark with its 6 kilowatts of output and 3 different household sockets, and also the fact that that is $57,990 before on-road costs. And if you want to go watch our review of that, I'll link that down below. But still, it is very good, and certainly this thing can tow more than that because it has 3.5 tons of braked towing capacity. How it goes with its smaller engine, well, we'll find out a bit later. Let's talk about the interior. Alrighty, guys. Nice solid thonk there. I'm glad to say that in the inside, I reckon this is class leading. It is so good in pretty much every way. Let's start with the steering wheel. It feels really nice to hold in the hands. It's a pretty squared off unit. On the left-hand side, you have your ADAS, highway driving level 2. This thing will have very good autonomous driving and safety stuff. And then on the right-hand side, you have your media controls. I don't love that I can already see an iView monitor here, but they are going for a 5-star ANCAP safety rating. They are not accepting any less. Otherwise, fleets won't buy this, and it probably wouldn't do that well otherwise. So yeah, unfortunately, we are gonna have to put up with this. Let's hope it's not. We have paddle shifters here as well. You've also got your drive mode selector. Interestingly, you do get a sport mode here, which is pretty cool to see. You don't often see that in utes. And then you have your terrain modes: snow, mud, sand, and rock. Those are really interesting. I'll come back to this point in a second, but essentially this thing has been extensively tuned off-road, and they have really unique modes for off-road and should make this thing really capable off-road. Other things in here, you have these 3 displays. So you've got a 12.3-inch infotainment display here. It is super easy, intuitive to use, very snappy, and it will come with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have air conditioning controls here, but you can also use these ones here, which is good. And then up in front of you, you have your driver's display, which does show a bunch of information. I reckon this might now be the class leading screen. Really, really good. And you do get a very detailed off-road screen in the infotainment display as well. So I think this car is going to have a lot of trickery to it to make it probably one of the better off-roaders in the segment, if not the best. That's what they think. You have a bunch of buttons here, which you can use. They're all touch capacitive, and you still have physical air conditioning controls for the most important stuff, which is great to see. They're clearly listening to feedback. I think more manufacturers need to do that. In terms of materials, it's kind of softish plastic here. This is all nice and soft, and oh, it's actually very, very nice indeed. Get massive door bins there. Get dual wireless chargers, awesome to see as well. 2 USB-C fast chargers. You get a couple of cup holders. Here are all of your off-road stuff. So first of all, it's got pretty cool, kind of shows you all your dimensions, so you can remember that. But of course, if you get a lift kit on this, those no longer matter, I guess. So you've got these 2 names here, DBC, you can see it there. That stands for downhill brake control, essentially hill descent control. And you have X-Track here, which is off-road cruise control. Great to see. That'll be really good when you are off-roading. You can change between them by doing that. And then here you have your 4-wheel drive modes. Now, this is a permanent 4-wheel drive. So you can run it as a rear-wheel drive in 2 high. You can have it on 4 auto, which will essentially split the torque like an all-wheel drive through an open center differential. And then you have 4 high, which locks that center differential. And of course, 4 low, which then uses the transfer case, which yes, this does come with. So it's a proper off-roader, and and it is a permanent four-wheel drive. So it joins the Ford Ranger and also the Mitsubishi Triton. You've also got a mechanically locking rear differential, but it's also got another feature called ELD, which is electronic locking differential, and that uses the traction control system and also the ABS system to essentially stop any slippage of the wheel. So you always have power going to the wheel that is on the ground. Actually good to see. So like I said, they are claiming that this is going to be one of the best, if not the best off-roader in the class. So this will be very interesting to see. Watch this space. A couple of cup holders here. You've got this open storage area here. I love this. This is quite innovative for a mid-size ute. You actually have a little work table here, which is nice to see. Open area here. You could eat off here. You could also do work off here as well. Don't know how good that would be for your back, but anyway, you can do it, I guess, if you want to. And then of course you can open it up and you have plenty of storage space and a 12-volt socky wocky. Other storage places as well. You have a split glove box, so a little one up here. Open this up and you get a much bigger one, which is good to see. Unfortunately, there are no cup holders in the dash, but these aren't too deep, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. And you're also going to notice all of the ambient lighting going around. It's a pretty cool design, much like these seats. So these aren't real leather. These are called PU or POO leather, and they're just plastic essentially, but they are very comfortable. You can adjust them in a bajillion different ways, and they're also heated and cooled, and this steering wheel as well is heated. So this is going to be a very well-equipped ute, but I also think, considering its drivetrain, which we'll come to in a second, I think it needs to be a well-equipped ute and come in at a good price. Let me know what you guys think of the front seats. Let's check out the back. Now, this is pretty much the biggest ute in the segment, and the back seats is where you can tell that. Despite having the same wheelbase as a Ford Ranger, my God, the space back here is phenomenal. So 5'11", I've got heaps of legroom, heaps of toe room as well. Headroom is fantastic too, thanks to the big boxy design of this thing. This is scratchy here, but where you actually touch is nice and soft, and the seats back here as well, they're really, really nice. I do like them. You can pull down this center armrest, it's nice and soft there. You get a couple of cup holders, a storage area, and another storage area here too. I also like this. We can pull this and we can actually recline. So I think a lot of people are gonna love this, especially for the fact that you can actually carry people back here in a lot of comfort. It's much like the GWM Canon Alpha, which is bigger than this still, but has a lot of room in the back, just like this. You also get some pretty neat features. So USB-C ports here in the seats, get a map pocket here as well. You even get this like wetsuit material, which could be a laptop storage area or whatever you really want it to be. Got this interesting design there, but you also have your air vents, and you have a household 240 volt socket here in the X Pro, and that is because it has an inverter, which is good to see too. So yeah, I have to say I'm very impressed with the back seats. Oh, and I have to mention this as well. If we step out for a second, we can actually lift up the seats, and then you get 33 liters of underfloor storage, which is about double that you would find in a Ford Ranger, which is what they tell us. So yeah, you can tell that they are very much benchmarking the Ranger. And of course, you can pull this down, you get a little bit of storage, but it's mainly to access your top tether points. I have to be honest, guys, I'm really liking the interior of this. I really think this is class leading. I can't wait to see it on the roads. And of course, I do have to give a quick shout out to us, CarSauce Buy. I have a dedicated team of car buyers who are out there to get you the absolute best deals on your next new car. We have thousands of dealers who we literally make fight each other to get the best prices possible. And best of all, it is a totally free service for you, and that is because we charge the dealers a fixed fee, which also means we go in the hardest to get you the best price possible. So join our many, many happy customers. Just Google us, CarSauce Buy, when you want to get your next best car for a really fair price. Alrighty. Let's talk about the engine. Alrighty, let's talk about what you get under the bonnet, because it is a bit of a mixed bag. Now, globally, you'll be able to get this with a 2.5 litre turbo petrol, 206 kilowatt of power, 221 newton meters of torque. All of that is mated to an 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission. But in Australia, we are not going to be getting that. We are only getting the turbo diesel. It's a 2.2 litre turbo diesel, 4-cylinder. We've seen it in the likes of the Kia Sorento, and it puts out a pretty healthy 154 kilowatt of power, but a much less than competition, 440 newton meters of torque. That's 60 newton meters less than the 4-cylinder bi-turbo you'd find in a Ford Ranger, and also 60 newton meters less than you'd find in a Toyota HiLux, and of course far less, 160 newton meters less than what you'd find on the V6 Ranger. So yeah, they're not going to blow anyone out of the water with these. They do say that with the transmission and over the course of the torque band, you actually get a really healthy output, 0 to 110.4 seconds, which is actually quite respectable. However, it is still on paper quite a lot less. So how it will go with its 3.5 tons of towing, well, I'm not too sure. So make sure you subscribe, because when we do review this, drive this on the road soon, well, we'll tell you all about that. But yeah, it is a little bit disappointing, to be honest, that all you get is that amount of torque. Power is fine, but the torque is kind of low. Let's get to our final thoughts. Alrighty guys, final thoughts on the new Kia Tasman. Look, I will say, seeing it in person, it does look a little bit better, but I still think it's a little bit ugly. Still, the interior is definitely the new benchmark for the segment. A really, really nice space to be. It's also got pretty impressive stats underneath its skin. The way it should drive is what Kia are promising is the biggest reason you would buy this. In fact, I just had an interview, and I'll put that link to the article up on our website now, but they told me that they think that this will be the best in ride, handling, NVH, all those really important things when you are driving it, including off-road ability. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to watch this space. I'm not going to judge this book by its cover yet, but if it doesn't ride well, I have very low faith. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What do you think of the Kia Tasman? I know a lot of you are very opinionated. Of course, if you did like this video, please do leave a like and share it with a friend. That really helps the channel out. And if you want to buy any new car in Australia for the best prices possible with cars that are actually in stock, just Google us, CarSauce Buy, and my team will take care of you. Ciao for now.